Richie Furay is walking in Memphis on his new album, In the Country.
Put on my blue suede shoes and I boarded the plane.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Famer and founding member of Buffalo Springfield and Poco has teamed up with Grammy Award-winning producer Val Garay to put his unique musical stamp on a collection of country rock songs covering everyone from Keith Urban and Leanne Womack to John Denver and Mark Cohn.
Then I'm walking in Memphis, walking with my feet 10 feet off a bill, walking in Memphis, but do I really feel the way I feel?
So you got this new album out, in the Country, which is pretty cool. I've been listening to it and enjoying it.
Great, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And I realize it's something of a little bit of a reunion thing because I was looking through my collection and I got this
There
record
you go,
here.
Man. Val Garay.
Val
Yep.
was the producer on that, right?
Yep.
And Waddy plays on it, and Timothy and all those guys. So I guess first tell me about your working with Val Garay. Why him? What's the connection there?
Well, Val and I obviously have known each other since Buffalo Springfield days. I mean, we've been friends.
Right.
We were born on the same day, 2 years apart, and we were friends all the way back when. And we did do the 1979 "I Still Have Dreams." And Val came to me when I was doing a project for autism in Los Angeles, and he came to hear that concert, and he said, "Hey, do you want to do another record with me?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to do another record with you." I didn't have anything, that I was really projecting, further on to do, and asked him, what he had in mind. And when he said, "Do these country," I think he said country hits or classic, iconic. I don't know how he described them, but I wasn't sure exactly what he meant. And, so what we did was we made lists, and he had a list. I had a list. His friend and co-producer Nick had a list, and we started comparing songs. And when the very first song on Val's list was the very first song on my list, a song that I had heard while I had been fishing up in Montana, but I couldn't quite hear it way back in the 90s. I mean, 1990s. And it was John Barry's "Your Love Amazes Me." I said, I right then I knew we were onto something that we could do.
Very good. So yeah. Well, let's talk about "Your Love Amazes Me." It's on the record. It's like the 5th track on the thing.
Yeah.
So what was it about that song? And when you actually went to record it, what was the situation like?
I've seen the 7 wonders of the world. I've seen the beauty of diamonds and pearls, but they mean nothing, baby. Your love amazes me.
Well, like I said, Marty, when I first heard this song, it was like something that it's one of those songs that just grabbed me, but I couldn't quite hear it all. So when I got back home to Colorado, I called a radio station to find out, here's some lyrics. Can you tell me what song this is? And when they told me what it was, I got the album, and I got the song and started listening to it. And, this song is, the lyrics are so simple, and yet they are so deep. It's just, you can just think about what Chuck is saying in the song so much. Chuck Jones wrote the song. And, then obviously, when I recorded it, we got John Barry to sing on it, and we've become friends. Yep. He's sung with me on on the show I did in Nashville a couple weeks ago, and he's just the sweetest guy, man. And I just think one of the greatest voices I've ever heard, man. I mean, his voice is just tremendous. But to have him be a part of the record was just, it's just like a cherry on the cake.
There you go. And what struck me about that particular track, it sounds so much like Poco.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm surprised at that. I only started the band back in 1969, so.
But I'm just saying that the style of the song, and it just goes to show the influence that the band has, because this is, like you say, from the 90s, and there you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, I got to say, the one that drew me was the Ricky Nelson, Lonesome Town.
There's a place where lovers go to cry their troubles away, and they call it Lonesome Town, where the broken hearts stay.
You know, Marty, when I was a kid growing up, I couldn't wait for Ricky Nelson to come on at the end of the show of Ozzie and Harriet and sing one of his songs.
Right.
And when he
Yep.
one of the I think the song that just really got me going was Bebop Baby, and
Right.
he was singing over a baby crib. I'm sure it was David, his brother's first child, and he was just singing with an acoustic guitar. And then at the last verse, it went right to the high school gym auditorium, and there was the band, and it was like, oh my gosh, I got to do this. I
Yep.
have to do it.
Yep.
And so I had to put a Ricky Nelson song on this album, and so that was the one that I chose and I picked to do. It was funny because when J.D. Souther came into the studio while we were recording it, because I actually wanted J.D. to actually sing the harmony on it, and when we finally got it finished and got around to doing it, the schedules weren't working out, so we just got Vince Gill, that's all. But
These things, you do what you can.
I just love the way it came out. We none of these songs did we want to do karaoke. We wanted to make them our own. And this one, I think, was probably one of I won't say it was the most difficult, because the sound back there in the late 50s, early 60s, had a very, they had a dominant sound. And for the band to come up with with kind of like a fresh, 2021 or 2019, because we recorded this thing in 2019. It was just,
Yep.
it just worked, man. It just really worked.
And it's interesting because Ricky Nelson, everybody knows him from Ozzie and Harriet and all the hits he had in the late 50s, early 60s. But really, like you, he was one of those guys that put country and rock together. He had the Stone Canyon Band and the whole thing. Did you ever have any interactions with him around that time in the late 60s, early 70s?
I only got to meet him one time when he came to the Troubadour to hear Poco, and I just wish we would have had more time because, I can't tell you the influence that he had on my life. I can look at some of my early pictures. I tried to look like him and everything. He was handsome and I'm not, so it was kind of difficult, but I just wish that I'd have been able to spend more time and get to know the guy and talk to him, because he really did have an influence on my life, but it didn't happen.
Yep. So the songs that make up the album, you mentioned that you guys made lists and came up, but so how did you come up with the final list? And which ones of those are like the ones that really stand out for you?
Let me get my record here and look at some.
Yep.
Somebody Like You. I just loved the song.
Yep.
It was. I love Keith Urban. This guy is the real deal. He is a musician, an entertainer, a singer. He's just really and this song here is just so fresh, and yet what it says, I just love what it says. It's a relationship song basically, and finding that relationship that really speaks heavy.
I'm letting go of all my lonely yesterdays. I've forgiven myself for the mistakes I made. Now there's just one thing, the only thing I wanna do. I wanna love somebody like you.
And a lot of the songs on here are relationship songs. I Hope You Dance. Man, this world has gone through so much in the last 3 years or so. And I Hope You Dance, it's not always going to be blue skies, green lights, and tops down weather. We're going to have choices that we have to make as we face difficult times in life. And as the song says, hey, you got a choice. You can either sit it out or you can dance, and I just love Leanne Womack. I think she is just one of the most terrific singers, that I've ever heard. Val picked the John Denver song. It was Val's choice to do Take Me Home, Country Roads. I have to admit, I wasn't a huge John Denver song fan early on. I loved this particular song of his, but I really didn't. I didn't grab on to how talented John Denver was until he was inducted into the Colorado Music Hall of Fame, and I was asked to sing a song. And so what song did I pick? Wild Montana Skies. Nothing to do with Colorado, but But, I started listening to just a ton of his music, and I just, oh yeah, this this guy was quite a talent, man. And so I was very happy to do it.
Yep.
She Don't Know She's Beautiful. Simple song. And every time I heard that song years ago when it was a hit, it just made me think of my wife, man. She's so unpretentious, and she's just beautiful inside and out, man. And so I just wanted to put that song on the record. Of course, we talked about Your Love Amazes Me. I'm in a Hurry, another song that I think I picked because sometimes I feel like my life has been frazzled like that, man. I'm in a hurry to get things done and slow down, man. We should have probably done a Simon and Garfunkel song, but they weren't country, so I couldn't do it. Slow down, you move too fast. Lonesome Town, we talked about that. I brought Walking in Memphis to the table too, and Val says, well, that's not a country song, but I love the song. How do we make it fit on this album? And so
Right.
with it being so piano driven with Mark Cohen, we said, let's just take these licks, these piano licks, and just make them guitar licks, and let's see what we come up with. And so the band came up with that, and it just really worked. I'm Already There, just one of those songs that I could not listen to without crying, man. I mean, this song is just one of those songs that just grabbed my heart. And even when I was learning it, just learning the lyrics and getting a feel of it, how I wanted to sing it and everything, I'd sit there and I didn't even know if I was going to be able to record it when it came time to record it. I love the song so much. The River was another Val picked The River. In This Life, I love Colin Ray. I had my daughter Jessie, when she did an album several years ago, sing one of his songs. And I just love what this song has to say. In This Life, I was loved by you, as he goes through, all the things that he's going through.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I can just say, man, in this life, I'm just so thankful I was loved by you, and you can apply that to so many different things in so many different ways, but it spoke to my heart.
Yep. And there's some really nice pedal steel from Dan Dugmore on that one.
Golly,
too. I really like
Dan,
that.
he's played on every song, every album of mine since 1997, plus the 1979 I Still Have Dreams. Dan is such a sweet guy. Chalk is the only song that really wasn't a hit per se, but I love
Right.
Buddy Miller. And
Right.
this song, when I first heard it, I saw it on YouTube. Somebody put it on my social media page, and I listened to it. And they said, this song is so new, it doesn't even have a title yet. And I tell you, Marty, I listened to it over and over and over and over again, that somehow I knew I wanted to record it. I just talked to Buddy, and I just told him, man, thank you and Julie for this song, man. I just love it, and I just
Right.
think he's such a talented guy. So there's all the songs except for the two that are the bonus tracks. Don't ask me
Yes,
what.
yeah.
I don't know what a bonus track is, man. I don't know why the bonus tracks aren't on the CD. It doesn't make
Right.
sense. If people want to buy the vinyl and get the bonus tracks, that makes sense. But anyway, we did a recut of Picking Up the Pieces.
Picking Up the Pieces.
It was the last song that we recorded. We did 14 songs in 4 days. And
Nice. That's the way to do it.
Picking Up the Pieces was the very last song that we did. And I said, hey, guys, let's try and just do this a little different than with Poco. Let's maybe think of it as the Bakersfield rather than Nashville, And bingo, one take. That's what it was.
Nice.
And then
That's all
the
right.
George Strait, I Cross My Heart, that my daughter Jessie gets to sing a duet with me, man. I love it. So it's just beautiful.
I cross my heart and promise to give all I've got to give to make all your dreams come true. In all the world, you'll never find a love as true as mine.
You gotta love the fact that your daughter is doing the thing.
Oh, man.
So,
Yep.
what kind of things do you tell her about the music business? What kind of advice did you give her when she was growing up?
You know what? I really didn't have much to say, but I was really happy when I knew that she went off to New York years, when she actually, after she graduated from high school, to the American Music and Dramatics Academy in New York City because she knew she wanted to get into the entertainment world, and that's where she met her husband, and that all worked out. But we did record an album for her about, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago now, and it was there that she had to make a decision. Does she want to have a family? Or does she want to, try and pursue this? And it wasn't very long after that her first daughter she had her first daughter, Brooklyn. So we knew which direction she was headed. But I've had her go out with me on the road for the last 10, 15 years. And so it's really wonderful just to have her out there. The fact is, I don't even think I could go out and do live shows if it wasn't, if she wasn't with me.
Gotcha. Now, my understanding is there's a documentary in the works called Through It All that Cameron Crowe is involved in. And tell me about that. What's the status of it these days?
My manager, David Stone, and his partner, Denny Klein, are the ones that really said, hey, you know what? Your story really should be told. It's unique in the whole scope of things. And so it's really their baby and their project. We've gotten a lot of interviews. And we got Cameron Crowe involved because, I was his first interview when he was just a kid before I think he was ever signed to do. And we had not seen each other for 40 years. And again, here's that stupid that social media thing. Somebody posted a thing on my social media and their name was Cameron Crowe. And I said, okay, I'm going to write behind the scenes and ask this guy if it's really him. And if it is, I'm going to tell him I'm doing a concert in LA with my good friend, Timothy B. Schmidt. And if it's him, I want him to come to the show. And he wrote right back and said, it's me and I'll be there. And we hooked up after 40 years. And then when the documentary got going, we just asked him, if he'd like to get involved and maybe be the voice on the trailer. And so he's been that. And now he's just said, hey, whatever I can do. And I'm just really touched by that. That's really awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So what is the documentary basically a biography of you and your career, or what is it touching on?
Yeah, basically it is my career, but Marty, it's going to take on some different aspects that, it's not something that everybody's just here to pat Richie Furay on the back and say, what a great guy and a wonderful guy. We're looking for just the real stories to be told from guys that I've interacted with. And some of them, I didn't have the greatest maybe relationship with at the end of the day, but they've still been there. And so there's just going to be a lot of, just my history as where I've been and what I've done, which has been kind of a unique story, man, leaving that little town of Yellow Springs, Ohio of about, 3,000 people or so with a college and going off to New York to be a folk singer and meeting Stephen and and Neil. And it's an interesting little story. So we're going to see how it goes. Yeah.
I'm sure it is.
Coming out next year.
So speaking of Stephen and Neil, have they been interviewed for the thing?
Yeah. In fact, Stephen and I just did I had to do a Zoom, and Cameron came over to Stephen's house in LA. Neil was supposed to be a part of that. And that was when the Ukraine situation broke down, and Neil said, clear my calendar. I can't do anything. I can't think about anything. So Stephen and I did a little thing. And, I think it turned out right because Stephen and I have a relationship. And then Stephen and Neil have a relationship, and then Stephen, Neil, and I have a relationship. So it was kind of fun to be able to have me and Stephen have our relationship. And as a matter of fact, Stephen and Neil and I and Cameron were supposed to get together last Thursday at Stephen's house.
Oh, geez.
I was in Los Angeles for the Grammy Museum. I had a release thing at the Grammy Museum for in the country, and Stephen has COVID. So there you go. It all fell. So they're saying the third time's a charm, right? So we'll see.
Right, give it a shot. You guys did actually get the band back together again like 10, 15 years ago and do your thing. You ever see performing again together?
Probably not. I just think things have gone on too far now. But, it was fun. When we tried to do it maybe 20 years or 25 years ago or so, it was a train wreck. And then this last one that we just did, maybe, like you said, maybe 10, 15 years ago, I tell you, it was so easy and everything just flowed. It was so cool. And I'm really glad that we got to do it. And I'm glad that the people that saw the show got to see the show.
Yeah. So what do you now? This record's out. You've kind of taken. I know you played a gig at the City Winery in New York last month.
Uh-huh.
What else you got up your sleeve? What are you thinking about next?
Well, right now, I'm just kind of doing more work with getting in the country, getting people to become aware of it and what's going on. So I'm
Yep.
doing a few shows, and then I'm doing, it's kind of neat because I can go out with a band. And I met some guys in San Diego that just blew me away. And my daughter Jessie and my friend Dan Scarta and I went out there to do a house concert. And this friend of mine kept saying, "Hey, there's these guys that are going to be playing with you out there, and they want to back you up." And I, no, man, that ain't going to happen. Well, when I heard them, man, it was like they are so great that I took them back to New Jersey and New York with me, and I play with them now. But then I also get to do things with just my daughter and Dan, and it's kind of like doing the living room version. And
Sure.
so we're doing a few concerts next month, or I guess in September. Don't have anything booked until then, and then I'm going to Nashville because they're doing a country music Hall of Fame production of country rock, and they've got a little display at the museum there that I'm gonna be out there for that at the end of September as well.
Thanks, Val. This is very exciting, and like I said, love the album, and glad to see that it's here and everybody's working together still.
Absolutely.
And you're staying cool in Colorado, man. The planet's heating up. I mean, the news about over in Europe is just insane with the heat wave.
I know it's hey. Yes, who's it? Martha and the Vandellas? Who did that, man? I can't remember. Heat wave.
Hey, the heat wave. That's the one. Very good. All righty. Well, I'll let you go. Thank you very much.
So nice seeing you. So
okay.
nice
thank you very much.
to you, man. Thank you very much, man. Love to see you again one of these days.